meet my bride. Let's go for a ride in my newfangled automobile. Here's where we will go. Nobody knows, but it's sure a great way to feel. Behind the wheel of the Speed Meter Steel, it's my newfangled automobile. Well, hello and welcome to Vintage Car History. I'm Wild Bill, and guess who I have with me today? This is Jay from What It's Like. And so we spent a day at a museum. Please tell me, Jay, what it's like.
Oh God, it was great. I wish you guys could have been there for it. It was amazing. We got to see some really cool stuff. There's some really cool stuff coming up on the channel. It may have came out on mine, and who knows? We're doing this in the future, from when you guys are seeing it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, admittedly, that's really the difference between my channel and your channel, is that you really focus on the cars themselves. I'll admit, I don't necessarily do. I'm looking, more at the people, the places, the history behind them. But, you go on to What It's Like, and look, link in the description if you haven't got there yet, okay? What you do is you're showing us the car, and you are making, intimately, as if like we did today with, with that 32 Cadillac. V16 town car. Oh my God.
You saw me, man. I was like a kid in a candy store. I was drooling all over this thing. And I just couldn't believe it was like right in front of me. And like, people always ask me, hey, why don't you go in front of the car and have somebody else hold the camera for you? I shoot the channel like it's a first person experience for you. I want you to experience the car at the same time I experience the car. I want you to see all the lines that I am seeing. It's almost like it's you doing it. And that's why I do it that way, is because it's like you're doing it. And I just think it has way more of a personal feel. Because at the end of the day, the channel's not about me. It's about the cars. And that's what I want it to be about. My channel is more of a car community than a car channel, and it will always be that way because I don't know everything about everything. I'm a really good researcher. I know how to find things. I know where to find things, and that all came in time. And but yeah, I just I love the channel. I love it that it's a community, and like I want to one day, hopefully, I want it to be the go-to classic car channel for people to help each other out, to outsource parts, cars, whatever. Information, mostly. A lot of information, a lot of conflicting. There's a lot of wrong information out there.
Boy, there is.
And it's so hard to decipher what's fact and fiction, especially when you didn't live during that time period.
Yeah, and when you go back, pre-World War I, trying to sort fact and fiction is just...
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You might want to cut that up. That was pretty long.
No.
That was pretty long.
I ain't worried about that. I'm not worried about that, Jay. Because, what you have to say is great information. And it's a great attitude. That's what I'm loving here, is the love. That's what I love about what you do on your channel. And your passion, obvious, is there. But it's also... you let us get intimate with the car itself.
Right.
Okay? And, jump in the driver's seat, jump in the back seat, jump, look in the, under the hood, look in the trunk. Get to know the car itself. And, if you're going to get passion for a car, it starts with the car, and that's what you do. That's what I love what you do.
Thank you so much. It really means the world to me. I was born too late, and I honestly think that I should have been born like 1933, something like that. I would have been dead long ago, but...
Well, not necessarily. My mother-in-law was born in 1933. She's still here.
Yeah. My grandma was still kicking, but I think she was 39. Or 41, something like that. I'm sorry if I got it wrong. But yeah, so classic cars. Somebody asked me in the comment section the other day. They said, "How did you get involved in classic cars?" And I honestly don't really remember, to be quite frank. All I remember is I've always liked wide white walls and fins and chrome. 50s was always my time. My favorite decade was the 50s. But since doing this channel, I have grown with a deep respect for the 30s. I don't know which one I like better. I don't know if I like fins or fenders. They're both great. Like
Chrome or nickel.
Yeah, it's just some of the innovation, some of the technology that's lost to time from the 30s is just incredible. And like the V12s they made, and like just they all look like pieces of jewelry.
Yeah, look at what we saw today.
Right. But getting back to the point that I wanted to get to in the first place,
We'll get
these
there.
cars are more than just everyday driving appliances. I say new cars are appliances. People get mad at me, and I say if you can upgrade your car through an over-the-air software update or put a chip in it, it's an appliance. These cars were machines. The only way that you could get horsepower out of them is if you actually did some work, changed the camshaft, put more carburetors on them, changed the gearing setup. That's the easiest way to go faster. But, you know, and every car had characteristics about it. If you were rich, you bought a Packard, you bought a Cadillac, like a V16. You bought, yeah, we'll just,
Okay.
this isn't important.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
I'll just ask you for whatever. But
Okay.
but yeah, if you were rich, you bought a car that fit your personality. Like if you wanted to show people that you were a gentleman, but you didn't want to have like a really really pricey car, you bought a Buick instead of the Cadillac.
Could have bought an Auburn,
Right? Could have bought an Auburn.
maybe. A little bit of a cat's car.
Right? And could have bought a Cord. Cord was the baby Duesenberg.
Hmm?
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, anything looked like home. But
Right, and like, it's just now everything's like, the colors are white, gray, black, red, maybe, but they all look so generic. And if you shut the door of a 1933 anything, I don't care what it is, it could be a Model A. They didn't make Model A's then. It could be a 1933 Ford. V8. We're talking a lot of cars. Everything, sometimes it just gets mixed up.
yeah, I know, because you.
And I'm
gonna catch
dyslexic
you
on,
that.
I'm dyslexic on top of that. So I'm always dealing with dates and numbers and things that, you know, I can tell you one day the correct number and the next day it'd be backwards. But yeah, so when you shut a door of a new car, it sounds so cheap. It sounds so artificial, so fake, so appliance-like. When you shut a door from a car from the 30s, I don't care what it is, we'll say a Packard. You shut a Packard door from the 30s. It's
I
like,
know the Packard you shut that's making this up.
right, it's like shutting a bank vault. You don't want to get your hand stuck in there, you might not get
No.
it back.
No, I saw you slam the door of that car. And it was like a boom. Well, not so
I
you
pushed
did,
it.
Gary did, but it was a clunk.
Yeah.
And it was done. It was a done deal. I mean,
I had to hit it a little harder. That was the second time because the first time it didn't latch.
yeah,
So I had to give it a little bit more oomph because it was so big and heavy.
Yeah.
It didn't want to.
right.
Yeah.
Because it will eat you.
Yeah.
You know, what was that? 30? Was that 37 Packard?
37.
Yeah, I think so.
V12. Very
Yeah.
nice car.
Yeah, better than your average Hyundai. I'd say. So.
Definitely.
You
I
know,
think there was way more innovation involved in the 37 Packard than there is in a brand new Hyundai, as well. Even all the electronics and stuff. You know.
Yeah, well, you know, if you want to talk innovation back in the 30s, I mean, you're going to have to talk to Lodge, Duesenberg, and, you know, and frankly, I can't, other than the Lodge, there's no other American car I can talk about innovation, you know, unless you want to just talk about the whole, you know, airfoil, you know, aerodrome, you know, try to make everything look like an aircraft, which I know Chrysler,
Yeah.
you know, was, crazy about. But frankly, I thought that all just made the things look like freaking bugs, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know, some people love that. I'm not one of them. You know, when it comes to the 1930s, you know, in that decade, I got to tell you, to me, the most, I mean, Duesenbergs are obviously beautiful, but when it comes to something that actually could be affordable, that somebody could actually buy for, say, under $30,000, 1933 Auburn. Okay. I mean, they've got the look, they got that, you know, juiciness, but they're
Auburn
not.
made some beautiful cars.
Yeah.
They get they're drastically overshadowed by the
Right,
Speedster.
Right.
That's what everybody thinks about when they think Auburn. They think the Speedster.
No,
But
I'm not talking
they
the
made some
Speedster.
incredible cars.
I mean, go look at go look at the 33 Tour. I mean, you don't need, you know, for it to be a boat tail or any of that nonsense. You don't need it with this car.
Right.
Okay, you've got, first of all, I mean, you got a straight at Lycoming. You're already putting out 270 horsepower. You've got a solid 3, because it never came out with a 4-speed. That came out with a 3-speed, if I recall.
They had
got
a 6-cylinder too, I think, in the basement
some,
model.
yeah, well, in the low end, but you had two different options, but they were both Lycomings. And you had the, I mean, the freewheeling was there, there was a thing at the time.
Yeah.
If you don't know what freewheeling is, I mean, imagine just, you know, saying, okay, I'm going down a big hill. I'm going to press a button on the you know, at the foot of the car, and the whole engine, brakes, everything are disconnected. I am at the whim of gravity. Okay, this is freewheeling. Okay, yes, I'm free as a bird. Now, yeah, they meant more than that, I can tell you. Because if you freewheel a car, okay, you know, like an Auburn, and I had the opportunity to do that.
That's awesome.
Okay, this was 25 years ago.
So freewheeling just lubricates the whole drive.
No, it disconnects the whole drivetrain.
Right, but it spins, but it still lubricates, so it doesn't all seize.
Well, of course, it's going to do that. I mean, your engine's still running. You know, you still have, you know, that going on.
Right.
It's just that you have no connection between the engine and the transmission.
The only downer with the freewheeling system is, I guess, if you were at the top of Everest and you were coming down,
you're dead.
Right. With the brake fade that those cars had, you'd have to put it back into non-freewheeling, so the engine braking would slow down.
This is why freewheeling died out, is because, you know, at some point in time, if you can't use if your engine's disconnected, I mean, even in a modern car, if you're just driving down the road and you ease off the gas, you're still connected.
Right.
Even if it's an EV, you know, you're still connected. But if you don't have that connection, then all of the stress of slowing down the car is going to go onto the brakes, and it's going to burn your brakes up, and that's exactly what happened. Which is why the whole freewheeling option, as cool as it was, only lasted for about a 10-year window.
Right.
You know, in
could you imagine?
history.
Could you imagine explaining to a millennial besides me how to use that?
Yeah.
You die.
Yeah, exactly. Because your brakes don't work.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pre-1935. I mean, they don't even have power-assisted brakes yet. Okay. Yeah, they may be hydraulic.
Right.
At least in the case of Auburn, but you know, not everybody had them.
Right. Lockheed was the first one to manufacture.
Yeah. You didn't, right, and you didn't have, you know, disc brakes. They were all expanding drum. I mean, true disc brakes were invented back, you know, way back in Britain. You know, Lanchester.
Wow.
You know, it was the first. You know, we're talking 1901.
Wow.
But the first.
Crazy.
Yeah, but the first disc brakes, the brake pads themselves were made of copper. Now you take a copper pad and put it on a steel caliper. What's going to happen? I mean, the sound was atrocious.
Oh wow.
And by 1903, they canceled them because they were just literally too noisy. And it took it took Jaguar, you know, to work out the compounds to make disc brake pads that wouldn't have that problem and wouldn't overheat.
So after 1903, when the disc brake goes away, who's the next company to do it?
Renault. Well, Renault's the next one to do brakes right. They didn't. I mean, Jaguar is really the next one to make, disc brakes.
Nice.
We're
What year?
talking 1950s. I think 53 or somewhere right there.
Crosley Hotshot.
Okay. But as far as making brakes that work, that was Renault.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Hotshot was more or less like a gimmick.
Yeah. Okay.
Buy our car.
Yeah, but
Here's why.
yeah, but brakes, that was Renault. I mean, and that was going back again 1904, 1905, and then when you get to 1907, when Renault made the famous Yankee 7, their whole that became the famous taxis. These all had expanding drum, shoe drum
wow.
brakes. Renault invented that. So, and when you look throughout, the cars, you see the drum brakes, yeah, that was Renault.
Oh, wow.
They invented that.
That's why you need to watch Bill's channel. He does everything before 1932. We go into that sometimes, but he goes into more than just the cars. He goes into the people behind the cars. So if you ever wanted to know, like, the engineers that made, like, Rolls-Royce so great, that's the channel to watch.
Well, that was Henry Royce, pretty much. He was the engineer.
Right.
But it took, Charles Rolls, of course, with the partnership, but of course it was Claude.
He sold the cars.
Well, yeah, but not without Claude Johnson making the two work together. I mean, without, yeah. It's complicated, but it's on my channel. You can find it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Jay. What I know something you want to talk about, and I think it's a very timely topic.
Yeah, sure.
Is EV.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay. Now, let me just say, as the guy that's Mr. Old Technology, okay, hybrid, I can date to 1896, okay, Columbia Corporation, Connecticut, actually built one, and
wow.
I'm talking about, with an internal combustion engine, driving an actual dynamo generator, which in turn charged the batteries, which in turn drove electric motors at the wheels, which in turn could actually do regenerative braking. 1896.
Okay, so that was 1896. Where has that knowledge been all of our lives? Suppressed, right? Probably. But so I want to make something perfectly clear. This is not getting political. We're not going to talk politics on this, because a lot of times, like when you talk EVs, you're on one side or the other. My channel, I don't talk politics. Yeah, but I'm just going to give you my opinion on the electric car and what I think. I honestly think that, yeah, the electric car deserves a place here. I don't believe that it's right for the government to, like, force it down our throats. Like, it should be your choice if you want. Do you have a golf cart? Why don't you? Because it's your choice whether or not you have a golf cart. That's how it should work. It should be your choice. Like, yeah. The biggest problem with electric cars is the lithium-ion battery situation, and nobody's talking about it. They can't be recycled, and they're speculating that they can be recycled in 10 years or 5 years or whatever they're projecting, but they speculated that 10 years ago. What about all the lithium-ion batteries from all the cars that are 10 years old? Like, you gotta think, Tesla Model S, that's coming up on 10 years old. They came out in 2010. That's over 10 years old. I don't know. I live under a rock.
Yeah,
like I said, I'm dyslexic and everything's just...
the batteries are definitely an issue.
Right.
But that was an issue back in 1896. I mean, keep in mind, you look at the work that was done by Porsche back in 1898 when he was working with Lorna.
Right.
Okay. You're seeing already a complete EV vehicle. You're seeing them being very popular in Europe and the United States. We're talking, you've got Columbia, you've got Baker, you've got Thomas, you've got, Janassi, you got so many that are going all over the place. Now, why is the question? Were electric cars popular at the turn of the 20th century? The answer is simple. If you're in Europe or the United States, it doesn't matter, electric cars were popular because they were convenient for very local in-city commutes.
Right. It's the same reason to promote them today.
Right. So that has not changed. Now, mind you, there's 130 years of technology between us. And so, Mike, the first question I'm going to ask, okay, is if the technology behind the electric vehicle has been around for that long, okay, and when it was first in its inception, it was designed for in-city commutes. Then if today you make a car and say, hey, it's electric and it's for in-city commutes, what's the problem? This is not new.
Right, right. And like, if you watch Bill's channel, you'll find out that everything that they're pushing as innovation has already been done before.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, because like, if you think back to like the 20s, 30s, everything was electrified. Like, they had electric streetcars, they had electric trolleys, they had electric buses. Everything was electrified. And it's no longer here. Why is that? Because it didn't work.
But why didn't it work? Well, let's keep this in mind. Now let's look at the differences of the actual technology. Because when you look at 1950, pre-World War I, and you look at the different types of cars that were out there, you had gas-powered cars, liquid fuel. You had steam-powered cars. You had electric cars. You even had some oddballs here and there being powered by wind and other stuff.
Did you ever see those cars?
Those
are funky.
There was a wind-up car built in Canada in 1908. Okay,
Oh,
but
wow.
all right.
I'm talking about the ones with the big propellers in the front. Those are funky.
I know. But they tried everything. Okay, the reason why by 1915 the gasoline-powered engine won the war was convenience, because once you applied electricity to it and made the electric starter, which Cadillac perfected, the gas-powered car was simply easier to use.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that the electric cars would have been very much a state of contender, and did up until about 1923 or 4 by that time when they were done. But the real problem with an electric car was how long it took to recharge the thing. How, it was, you could charge it up and use it, but then you're going to spend the next day or so with these old lead acid batteries trying to get the thing re-going.
Right.
Now let's look at today. It's a whole different situation, okay? Like you were saying with the batteries, they only have so much of a lifespan, but the question is, how fast do they recharge? Because that's the real question. Because to me, in the modern, and again, in modern automotive world, and again, I'm getting out of my expertise. But when you look at how the United States government deals with cars, it is totally unfair and biased against cars that use gasoline.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I mean, look. Look at it. Because if you have a gasoline car, the way that they figure out what the actual gas mileage has to be by their calculations is based on the footprint of the car. The footprint of the car is based on its wheelbase multiplied by its track, which is the width, between the axles. How big that is what the government is going to look at, the United States government, the DOT and the EPA. They're going to look at that and say, okay, well, if you have a gasoline car and your footprint is, say, 53 square feet, when it's all said and done, well then, if your car is that big, then you have to have X amount of fuel efficiency. If your car is bigger, then you have to have less, because it's a bigger car. If it's a smaller car, then you have to have more efficiency. This is why you don't see small, little, tiny, like those little trucks and the little smart cars. They can't build them anymore. The law of the United States won't let them. I mean, it's absurd. You can't, I would love to have my old 2010 Ranger back, but it'll never be back because it's gas powered and it's too small. And it has, if you want something that's actually going to be fuel efficient, it has to be big enough. It has to be huge.
Right.
It is stupid. Now, here's the point. EV cars are not required to be compliant to this. They are exempt from these rules. You can make an electric car as small as you want, because or as big as you want, because it's not tethered by this law of efficiency that's given to gas-powered cars. But let me ask you this question, Jay. Who's monitoring the efficiency of producing the electricity to power those cars? I mean, stop and think about it. You have nuclear power that's used to make electricity. How safe is that? Ask Chernobyl. Ask Oklahoma. I mean, yeah. You've got, okay, there's hydroelectric power. Well, yeah, you made a lake. Well, yeah, it does. Do you think there's an environmental impact when you do that?
A lot of these people think that. A lot of these people are thinking that their electricity comes from the sun. Because they hear
less than 1% of all electricity generated in this country comes from solar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's a myth.
More than half of the electricity in this country is produced by coal or oil.
Right.
Okay. So in order to power your Tesla, how much are you actually burning of your petrochemical distillates? How much of this carbon are you actually burning? And you're saying, oh, I'm so environmentally perfect by driving this EV, yet where did that electricity come from?
Right.
Where, I mean, we don't think about that. And the studies aren't being done about that.
Right.
Okay,
so,
and they're being, and yet the gas-powered cars are being penalized, okay, for being known, whereas the EVs are being given a free pass because they don't know. That is dangerous.
Right. So funny story, real quick. It's kind of sort of on the same topic, but so there was this guy on YouTube, and I watched this video because he was like 90-something years old, and he had a Packard. It was a Super 8, and he bought it. He might have bought it new. This was years ago. But anyway, and he was joking that he has created less pollution because he bought that car new and kept it his whole entire life and drove it.
Yeah.
I think he passed away a couple years ago.
Yes, but you don't have to remanufacture. I mean, it's the disposable ideology, disposable cars. I'll admit I'm guilty of that, because I drive so much in my job. I mean, I buy cheap cars, and when I kill them, I leave them at the side of the road and buy another cheap car. Okay?
That's the best way to do it, though.
That's just what I do.
You're never, okay, if you're a kid and you're watching this, you're never going to get out of the financial hole if you keep buying cars. Like, I bought one new car, and I had to roll it over 3 times. It took me 6 years to get out of that. And like, they depreciate too. And it's not ever worth what you paid for it. But the classic car side of it, as long as you don't wrap it around a tree, and you don't pay too much money for it in the first place, if you buy it cheap, you will never lose any money on it. And then if you're in a financial, situation, it's better than the stock market. You could go and sell that car for what you paid for it, maybe even more, and you have money in your pocket.
If you're a young man or a young woman or whoever, and you just love cars, and if you want to have a car and buy one that you want as an investment, my advice to you is buy one that you like.
Exactly.
Not one that you not one
don't
that
make it into don't make it into a money relationship.
Yeah, it's not about the money. It's about get what you like. Get what it's like, I like this car. Because if you like that car, you're going to care for that car. You're going to make sure that that car is clean, pristine, and valuable, so that if the day ever comes. But if you don't love that car, you won't care for it that way.
Right.
So you just buy what you
don't buy it as an investment. Buy it as like a relationship or something like that.
Yeah.
But
there's going to be somebody as screwy as you who loves the same thing. Yeah.
Always in the back of your mind, you know, like I paid X amount of dollars for it. I could get this back in the future if I ever need it. That's all. Just don't treat it like it's dollar signs.
Yeah.
Because it's just like the stock market too. Like Model A's could be worth a lot of money this year, and next year they could be worth diddly squat.
Well, you know, when we're talking, you know, at the museum earlier today with Garrett, the Model A really is, you know, if you want to get into,
oh, definitely,
you know, vintage cars as a beginner and getting into it, the Model A is the way to go.
Definitely 30s car if you want to get entry level Model A. If you were going to get like 60s car, Mustang. You can get any part for that car.
That's the big kicker is, you know, if you, I mean, thankfully in the modern era we have the advantage of the computer technology, the scanning, and be able to digital print, you know, things, because, you know, in 1994 if you needed a water pump for a 1914 Scripps booth, good luck.
Right.
Okay. Whereas now you can actually take the skeletal remains of the water pump and print something out and actually do that. You couldn't do that 20, 30 years ago. So, you know, if you want to get into, you know, something exotic, you can now, you know, but you don't have to. You can go simple because, man, Model A's, Model T's, I mean, you know, Dodges, of course you're talking, you know, the Fords and the 60s, but the same is true with the Camaros and everything else. You know, muscle cars, you can get parts for.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you can get parts from Model A's easy.
The internet, you're going to find out if you're new to the classic car. If you're new to the classic car hobby, it's all about networking. There's always they always say there's like a 6-degree separation. Doing this YouTube channel has made me very much aware of that. Like, it's crazy who knows people that you don't know, it's nuts. But getting back to the original point, if you're getting into the classic car hobby, the reason I said Mustang instead of Camaro or Firebird, it doesn't matter if you get a 6-cylinder in those cars are expensive. They charge way more than a Mustang. You can get a V8 Mustang, and I speak from experience. I bought a 1967 Mustang with a 351 Windsor in it in 2010 for $5,000.
Thank you for not saying you got a 289.
It wasn't a numbers matching car, but I didn't care. I wanted a muscle car, and I drove it home, and I didn't know what any of the gauges were supposed to say, and it overheated. But since it was, you know, a quality product, I didn't thankfully, the block didn't warp. I was really afraid of that because.
Well, I'm wondering who dropped that thing in the first place.
With me?
Yeah, the 351 in that thing.
I didn't put it in.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was in that car when I bought it.
I thought it was supposed to come out with a 289.
Right. It was never supposed to be in that car.
Yeah.
They went. I used to know all the engines. They went 289. They offered a 390.
Yeah, well,
427.
I had actually a Ford F100 truck, 72 with a 390. That thing was Conan the Barbarian.
Oh,
basically,
wow.
It's a 360 punched out. That's basically what it is. With a little bit of more lobe on the cam.
Wow.
That's what that thing was. That was a beast of a truck.
I've never driven a big block Ford. I've driven a big block Chevy. I got to drive a 409 last year, bubble top car with 4-speed. That car is crazy, and I'll tell you why. Like, people that race those cars had to have balls the size of my head to drive that thing, because once you get up over like 50, 55, it turns into a Lincoln Mark V with a crazy engine. And
it's a go-kart.
I loved the sound. The sound was amazing. I did not like the shifter. The shifter was very, very vague, and it was super sloppy. And it didn't make sense to me because, like, I have a Chevy product. I got a 52 Chevy 1-ton truck. Every time I shift gears in it, it clicks. I love that. It's one of my favorite things about that truck. Besides the,
you feel that?
It clicks.
Yeah, it clicks. Even on, like, if you're on have you ever done a sequential trimming? You got that same click, 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 click.
Yeah, it's not quite that extreme.
Yeah, but you can feel it. You know, you're in there.
Right.
Yeah.
people always ask me cable clutch or hydraulic, and I always say cable. And they're like, why? And I was like, because you can feel everything that's going on, and it makes you just part of it.
Yeah,
you're driving a machine.
That was the argument Henry Ford actually gave against the hydraulic brakes.
Right.
He said safety of steel from pedal to wheel, but it was because when you have a mechanical connection, you have that feel of it.
Right.
When you drive a car, that was built, in 1914, okay, and you're driving this thing, everything that car does, you can feel.
Right. That's the best experience ever.
Okay. I drove, my 1910, Pierce Arrow, and it's like every movement, how you adjust the advanced retard, how you set your Kai gas, how you do that. I mean, everything.
There's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on.
You can't talk on the phone or text while you're driving that car.
No. You are driving this car, and every aspect of what it does will communicate with you, and you can feel it. It is so incredible when you drive a car like that. Now, and that's, I'll admit, I hate that about cars today. I do. I hate it. I look for like that little Hyundai I drive. I can tell when I turn the air conditioning on. It doesn't like it.
Right.
Okay, but exactly. Okay. It's like, I'm trying to get on the freeway. Can you get past 40 miles an hour? Thank you. But but you just don't have that feel. There's not that mechanicalness. There's that visceral relationship between you and the machine. You just don't find that anymore.
Right.
And
I have a Toyota Prius to commute back and forth, and I bought it just because of gas mileage or whatever. And so the screen will say that I'm getting 40 miles to the gallon or whatever. Sometimes they'll say 50, sometimes they'll be in between there or whatever. But I don't know if it's 100% correct. I think a lot of times it displays information that's not 100% true.
Is it woke?
It was 2009, man. I don't know.
Well, yeah, they were doing that then too. You never know.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that's what I was getting on to was they had that technology back then, and it was supposed to revolutionize the world, and they came out with a new Prius. It doesn't get any better gas mileage than this one, and the crazier thing is if you look back in time, there was a company called Nash, and they used to make unit body throwaway cars that got incredible gas mileage. They were claiming to get 34 miles to the gallon.
What, the Metropolitans?
No, I'm talking I'm talking clear back, 1934.
Oh, okay.
Stuff like that, and and then if you read the fine print, it says up to X amount of miles per hour. So a lot of times they'll say 34 miles per hour. So you'll get 35 miles to the gallon at 26 miles an hour or whatever the ad said. But if you go faster, you get less gas mileage. So.
Well, that was allowable because, when you're going back to the 1930s, there wasn't a national requirement, and a DOT. In fact, the U.S. Department of Transportation didn't even come into existence until, I think, 1966.
It's crazy. So they could just advertise whatever they wanted
exactly,
to.
Exactly.
And there was no...
Well, no, not necessarily, because you did have, at least in the United States, there may not have been federal mandates, but you had state mandates. And pretty much in the U.S. from about 1910 to about 1960 or so, what happened in the state of Michigan regarding cars was pretty much followed by everybody else. And so that's, if you want to look at how that all mandated, why do we all have, why is the driver's side on the left of the car? Well, it's because that was what was required by Michigan right after they did, right after the Roadland Act of 1916, Michigan in that following year said, well, we only want, since we're going to have roads now, you're only going to ride on the right side. We want, all the cars to have the steering on the left side because that's what Henry Ford's been doing pretty much Maltese, and then that spread. I mean, it's, oh my God. And it's,
Yeah.
it's just, the history is just so crazy.
It is. It's nuts.
It is. And you know what? I know you've got to drive home sometime.
Yeah, but
But
am I allowed to say about this?
sure.
So, this beautiful bookcase back here, I'm a cabinet maker for people that don't know. I build rustic furniture, so with nails and everything the rustic stuff. So this cabinet back here is made completely out of pallets, which is insane. I can't see a seam anywhere, because if you know how big a pallet is, this is taller than a pallet.
Yep.
No seams, no nothing.
Butterfly your wood. That's how you do it.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Anyway. Okay. Peace.